Hello everyone, it's Sloth here. Today we are going back to ESPER control. Don't mind the fancy name. Generally it's a typical ESPER control, but it has some twists, as you might already notice. It goes a bit into anti-aggro because the meta is very heavy with this one, so we have additionally Cry of the Carnariums. Sometimes when you are going second, going rough is not enough, and there are a lot of exile graveyard creatures, so of course the giants, but also like Adanto or indestructible puppies, things like this. So I feel that this helps a lot versus those decks, and in case it's a matchup that you don't need it, it's fine. Usually you either draw so many cards you need to discard something late game versus like slower matchups, or you just go with Chemister Insight and discard it. So it doesn't really bother us. You can also filter it with Escanta, but when this is the matchup when it's needed, this literally saves you the game. Otherwise, versus like Adanto, you either need Teferi or the second card that is a twist here, but in a moment. So usually you either go Raska or Teferi. So those are very specific cards, and like some decks have protection versus color. So if you use Raska, and this will be actually one of the games today, you just cannot remove that Adanto with this. You need something more. So it's either two removers the same turn, or you just need something like Cry of Carnarium. So that's the reason for this choice, and I think it's very strong with this meta. It's versus creature decks, it's always one for 2 or 3 cards at least. Okay, and back to the deck. So the other twist is Eldest Reborn. The card I always very liked, but it's a bit slow. So we are having only one of those, kind of instead of Teferi. And the reason is that usually we had some Teferi already in the game, so you can still resurrect it as a Saga 3 part, but you also get it as a tempo play. There are some games that the enemy will put one big creature or just stop decking, and then that's the place for Eldest Reborn. So you just play it, you go 1 for 1, and every next turn you are getting hugely ahead. The discard 1 card is huge, but the taking any creature from any graveyard and even pumping it is usually a game winner. So like this is just a single removal card on one hand, but on the other this will win you a game very often, and this is a win condition along Teferi. And this is a different win condition because Teferi just gives you a lot of control. It doesn't really kill enemy. So before you go to 8, you just get a lot of control and that's it. But with this, you can actually kill the enemy with his creatures. So usually you just get something like 4-4 or 5-5 and just smoke the enemy until he dies. At this point, you usually also have a lot of point removal or draw or counter spells. So you can make sure this creature doesn't really die. So this card is very strong. The other one is Gideon's Intervention. This is also one-off, and this is mostly for the matchups that run some kind of combo. And I count Goblins as a combo deck for this reason, because you can name the Moxus, and suddenly you don't need to be scared every single draw that the enemy might top deck it, and you lose the game if you don't have a counter spell. And if you counter one Moxus, he will go for Matron, search for the another one, and then you don't have any counter spell. With this, you can just make sure Goblins are normal deck that you win with Wrath of God. So I really like this one. It also shut down the combo decks. Obviously, when you name, for example, Neoform, the enemy completely cannot win with his main game plan. And most of the decks have some 1 or 2 crucial cards. For example, you can name Owen, you can name everything that isn't in game yet, and it's like the main engine for the deck. It's hard card to use, also for me, because you really need to know what you play against, and by definition you need to know the main card of the deck before it's played. For the Owen, it doesn't deal damage, so you cannot, like, preventing the damage doesn't really mean anything, so you need to make sure it's not casted yet. Sometimes it will be casted, and then it's work for Teferi and like your overall game plan, but sometimes they don't draw main cards, and you can just shut everything down. Worst case, you can just name a creature in the battlefield that's the biggest, and it's pretty much a 4-mana remover, like Raska Contempt. It's just not instant. So, you know, I think this card is very big here in the deck. It demands a lot from the player, but it gives you a lot of flexibility versus everything. And sometimes you can make sure this one particular card that you cannot handle in this game just doesn't work in any way. You can, for example, name giants, and this way any damage that they would deal to you, also the Croxa, doesn't really matter. Of course, you will still discard cards, but it's 4 mana, discard 1 card. So, you know, that's quite good. Other addition to this deck is 4 draw with Frantic Inventory. I feel that Chemister Insight is a bit slow sometimes, and like often it's not enough. Like for 8 mana you pretty much get 3 new cards, and sometimes you draw them, and for example it's 2 lands and a removal in a control matchup. So it's not enough to close the game sometimes if you are unlucky. So I run both, Frantic Inventory, and also at turn 4 you can pretty much use Quench, Negate, and still use the draw in control matchups. So at any point you aren't unprotected, and you can also start doing like the cycle on the turn 2 versus most of the matchups. So it goes fast, quite quickly. Of course, the last Frantic Inventory is 4 cards, so that's huge. It's pretty much casting 2 Chemister Insight for 2 mana. So I really liked it, and I usually am very happy when I see this card in my hand, even in the opening hand. Like, it's not huge, but it just gets you rolling. So in this deck you really need everything. You need to have counter spells, you need to have some removal, you need to have mana for Teferi and still to counter spell, to board sweep and counter spell. So it's not searching for the cards that you need, you generally need all of them. Search for Azcanta is a very staple card for this deck. Thanks to this, you usually don't get mana screwed so much, especially that Wrath needs 2 white, and sometimes you don't have those. Or you just don't get the 4th land. So this one is very crucial, and it also wins you late game. So after the enemy is out of his cards and you are out of your cards and you don't have any sweepers or counter spells or whatever is needed right now, usually you have Azcanta flipped. It's small mana acceleration, but it also makes a difference. And still you just can search for this one particular card that wins you the matchup. It also gives you just normal card advantage, especially with Teferi. So this one really carries you hard when you can flip it and have some free time just to search the card. It also wins any top deck wars versus any kind of deck. So this is a core build. We have 2 font size, only 2, because like we have a lot of pain lands, and if you go first and want to use the font size on enemy, you don't know if it's not aggro, and like dealing 4 damage to yourself versus aggro on first turn is like a no-no. It really hurts, and usually you just die later. So I don't super like a lot of those, but I think 2 is enough that after you have a wall of counter spells, you can start picking into enemy and like dissolve his game plan. If you go with this on the first turn, it's still fine, but like I feel the aggro decks are so popular that it's very risky to do it blindly if you don't know what you play against. like then you don't use it on turn first, on the first turn, and on the second turn you have a lot of things that you want to do, and there's no room. So then it goes to turn 3 or 4. So something like this. That's why I don't play 4. And that's pretty much it. I think we extensively discussed this deck. The castle is for control matchups. It's very useful. And with no further ado, let's go into the games. And remember, if you like those videos, I'm still starting, but I hope you like those. And the decks that we will be bringing will be hopefully better and more interesting, as I generally like non-meta decks, except the Esper. So, you know, subscribe and like, and it really supports me much. And let's go into the games, and I hope you enjoy all of them. So, we are going first. We have all the wrong lands, because they all come tapped. We have remover and quite fast board sweeper, along with some draw. So I will keep it, but it's insanely slow runs. Though if we draw some water grave or the white blue one, then then it's a very good hand. So you know, it depends as usually, but it has some place. The enemy though has some problems. Okay, so we didn't mulligan and went with the hard hand. The enemy mulliganed. So let's see how it all works. So this is probably the pirate guy. So it's probably Scenic Flash. Okay, so it's opt. So it can be also the combo deck. So then it would be also red. Versus the combo deck, we don't have amazing hand. We probably, yeah, that's the combo deck. Okay, so we need to draw into some counter spells very fast. And that's what we did. So first priority is drawing cards, because one counter spell and that, like this type of counter spell, isn't perfect. Though I think it's enough to slow him down a bit. He has 1 mana, so let's still wait with our play. Okay, so he doesn't have more lands. That's interesting. I think he was searching for more of them. And we are still getting the tap lands, so yeah. We can say we are a bit even. Okay, so that's the red mana. He got it. I don't think we can counter it. It's too important that we have, you know, at least one counter spell. But that would be a very good target to counter. Now let's see how many cards he needs to cycle. I would go with 3. Okay, so he did 2 of them. So this means he has probably like either a combo or one of the part of the combo and negate. The 5 mana, like the free counter spell that you can play cost during the next turn. Not Force of Will, the Pact of Negation one, yeah. And that, yeah, and as you can see, he has Pact of Negation because we were stopped with this. And that's not great. That's not great. And that actually forces me to do something else, I think. He drew a lot of cards, so right now, but no, if we cannot remove second creature on the instant, so we can't do much more. And probably he has combo by now, so we need to hope that this turn he won't play anything. No, he won't play anything scary, let me correct. And Uro isn't scary. And then we can go for Insight. And then I hope we will get Absorb. And then we can actually like start playing. With all the lands, we should develop very fast. And we have Jump Start. So yeah, that's great for us. And now we need counter spells. Yes. Okay, so it's going fine finally. We have all the lands. We have a lot of blue and white. Discarding isn't a huge deal. We could discard Cry. I think that could be the one that needs to be discarded. It catches all of his creatures, but still he doesn't go for this kind of play. He just goes for the combo. When I had a Wish deck that I could remove his Neoform, then it would be useful, because then they start to play this deck like a typical aggro. Okay. Like right now we have a lot to do, so I would prefer to draw more cards. And I prefer to counter his Neoform and then Pact of Negation, because we can do both. I think we might even want to remove the creature. I think that's the last thing that we will do. Okay. So let's go with this one. Castle won't be huge here, but I think it's still better than the typical land. And this one is great. So let's just kill it, because he needs to sacrifice a creature as an additional cost. So any kind of instant removal that we will draw will actually help us by a lot. Okay, and we can start trading cards. He should have most of his combos, so we'll take the Neoform, probably. I don't think he will use Pact of Negation. Do we want to do it? He will play 2 mana creature, then Neoform, then he wanted Negate and Pact of Negation. If we counter this right now, I think he will use the Pact. And then we are left with 1 counter spell. And a bit tapped out. So I think he thinks that we have more counter spells than we really have. So let's just pretend that we have full hand of stuff to do. Mana is a bit constraining to him, but if we survive this turn, we can go for Frantic Inventory. And when we have 3 or 4 counter spells, then I think we should be able to win the counter spell war. This whole game will come up to 1 turn, where he likes, plays everything. Yeah, so this one will be for Uro, so we draw the cards. He's pretty tapped out. Okay. So unfortunately we will have to start using sorcery, but our counter spells are too valuable to, waste them on Uro. It would be great to have some instant removal. Like this one. So I think we'll let him draw 1 card. And how much this is? So we have 2 counter spells. Yeah, let's do it. We still like threaten at least 2 counter spells, or even 3 possibly. I'm not sure if he saw the negate. He didn't. But he will attack with Uro, and if he doesn't do anything, like this is not doing anything for us, then we transform the Ascanta and still filter the cards. So we really start needing third counter spell right now. And at the end step we can just kill the Uro. He has another one, but he still needs a bit of cards. And every turn we have more lands, so we can like more and more do it. I won't use this before attack, because then he can use the combo. I will negate, because I will have 2 mana only, and then he will use Pact of Negation and we lost the game, so like I need to wait for an end turn. So he cannot play sorceries anymore. I think he's just hoarding counter spells right now. I don't think he'll counter it, though he might. But if he does, he'll just go with the Wrath. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, we don't super mind, and it's good that we got rid of additional counter spell. This one, for sure, we don't need. We need to transform. Then we can pay life. And I think we need to get this one. I don't want black mana. So let's go with the manual taps. And I don't think he will counter this one. But if he counters it, I think then we might counter it as well. But I'm not yet sure. I would prefer to draw with Ascanta, to be honest. Okay, so he did the pact, and that's the most important one. So next turn we can go with Eldest Reborn. He will be tapped, because that's the condition for this counter spell. So he didn't play it after winning the game, like during the turn when he wins, so he will have to pay the 5 life. So what does it leave us with? That's an important decision. He might play the next Urodan if he draws a land, and that wouldn't be perfect for us. Because then we would have to make a token and not use Ascanta. But I hope he won't. So it's risky, but I want to let him. Mostly because if we counter it, he won't tap out. And right now we are getting an additional turn pretty much. This one draws 1 card, but he has like all the combo, and he used one of the Pact of Negations, 2 negates, so yeah, 1 card shouldn't make a huge difference. Yeah, we can draw. Though we aren't getting a lot of draw and counter spells. Well, draw is quite fine, we got 3 of those, but no Hemister Insight, unfortunately. And he cannot play Ura. So we will use the Eldest Reborn, and then we still have 2 counter spells as usually, maybe 3 even. Okay, and those are the great cards. I could even do this on Uro. This way, like, well, he can still attack, so he will draw cards. So that's not amazingly optimal. Let's count the mana. So it's 5, and then we can double counter spell, but only double. This one is great because if I think we can actually do it. Like we can do this, then Neoform, but then we don't have board clear if he goes all in, and we will be tapped for it. Like, this intervention is huge. Let's go with it. I think that's quite important. Okay, so I don't, like, he taps the wrong things. Let's go like this. We can do double counter spell still, and he can do it again, but if he does, then we can do Teferi. So I think that's fine for us then. I would love to pay life and have it, but we are a bit short, so we need to absorb and negate them. Yes, so he's going for it without kicker. So right now, let's try to tap him as much as possible. So that's the turn, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think we don't have enough. Like, he used quite of the counter spells, but probably he runs 3 or 4. Here I would go with 3, probably, for like control matchups. But right now he knows everything. Like, it's not possible we have more than one counter spell. So, okay, that's very smart. He knows it's negate. So if he fought for it, yeah. But let's see, I think that he needs 2 copies. Otherwise, when he scries, he cannot copy anything because nothing is on the stack, unless he has another Neoform. But then he still cannot do it, I think. So it means that he had only one counter spell, and he just had to go for it before I used the intervention. So let's see, I think he needs 2 copies for it. Yeah. And that's what I meant. So right now he will go full aggro and try to just kill us, especially with Uro. So let's think. We have some options. We can remove the haste. We can remove the haste. We can go for Teferi, but it's too slow at this turn. What he wants to do is play Uro and then attack with everything and kill us with haste. I think we cannot hoard counter spells anymore. So then it might be Teferi. Yeah, I think it might be Teferi. Also because this way we can use the rider. We could do this for Uro, but I fear another Neoform. He only used 1, so it's very possible he has more. I'm not sure if he has way to kick those. Especially it's not instant, so he couldn't do it in response after countering everything. And if we use Neoform, what he is left with? Like it's fine. We get back Teferi anyway. So let's go for Neoform. So this way we just destroyed this plan. And let's also go for search. So he cannot kill us with this. Uro won't have haste. And if he kills Teferi, then it goes back with Eldest Reborn. And if he doesn't, we just get Uro or something just to draw cards. We can make tokens, we can scry for cards, and we have Teferi on the board. I had to do it because I'm pretty sure he has more Neoforms. So that's a huge problem for us. And we have options. With this one we have quite a lot of options. With Teferi, this land for blocking. Even if Uro will attack us, we can still block it with one token. So we can do a lot. We could even go with the Stormcaller, but depends what we will draw from Teferi. So that's not optimal. Okay, we don't want to land, we don't want to flip it, and that's actually something that's great. So if we take it, then we can use double Vraska Contempt, and we have 2 targets. So I think that's quite fine, and we still get the creature. He doesn't have bounce, so he doesn't get it. And for now it's removed from the graveyard even, so when he has this, it won't do as much as he would like to. And we can still draw something, so let's see what we get.
Hurry.
Okay. Wait with this in case we want to Hemister Insight it. Okay, so what do we have right now? We have double spell for something, probably Vraska, but I want to make sure that we draw something first. It might be good enough. Hearthless Act, Teferi. I think Hearthless is fine right now, but let's go with the Vraska Contempt. How much? Okay, so it's 2 or less. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not using this card very much, so I think we'll just do the Hearthless Act then. Yeah, he doesn't really have much in the graveyard anyway. So let's go with this one. And let's copy it. Okay, and what do you want to kill then? Okay. So he kills my creature. Then I kill his both. I think Druid is a bit more important at the moment. I don't want to make a token, to be honest. And I think we go with... No, this one is a bit too important. Though he gets haste, so we need to kill something at the instant. I think we might need to play the land, because the turns are so intensive right now. And let's just let him attack, I think. So we get those. I would appreciate if after the time it untapped anything randomly, but it seems that he just doesn't untap anything. Okay, so this is one attack. If he has counter spell, let's see if he has any removal. That's the removal that he might have. So for this reason, I think we try to make removal. Holy hell, that game is intensive. And I'm sure we misplayed quite a lot. But yeah, I hope you will forgive me, but the game seems really close every turn. Theoretically, we could even bounce it later and just change the target, but I think Neoform is very good for us. Third Ascanta, that's not what we wanted. But we have the Rider. So now the question, he won't be able to use Uro next turn, but he will have the wall. So I think what we really want is to kill him first, and then in case he has some kind of haste stuff, we do this. I don't see triggers on the stack, so I don't think he has anything. So in this way, we could even use the Ascanta. And then we untap. Yeah, and we can use it again. So I think that's like the best play. We got the wrong card, but still we get double Ascanta this way. So we have this, and let's go with Catacombs. So if he does something, we have all the counter spells we need, and if he doesn't, we get to draw a card. His graveyard is pretty empty, so Uro is quite long way from us. And Teferi can bounce something if we really need, so we are getting to some conclusion, I hope. But that's a game. Okay, and you control, so it will be another wall. So that's fine, I think. Okay, and thanks to the play, that's the card that we got, and that's amazing card. And that's a very amazing card as well. But given we cannot deck out with Teferis, yeah. Wow, we actually won this game. That was so hard. I don't think it was super over, depending on his draws, but we got the initiative. He saw the Hemister inside, so right now we can draw like 4 or 5 cards a turn. One from the draw, second, third, fourth with the untap, then we can use the Canister Insight. And probably that's all our mana by then. We can heal, so as long as the walls are here, we can get back with the life, so we aren't threatened with like Paradise Druid or things like this. And we cannot deck out, because like he could expect that we don't have win condition with Teferi so low, but we can just use -3 every turn, so it doesn't come into factor. It was really nice. I think I misplayed by a lot, but I think the intervention for Neoform was the game winner. Probably that's the last card. If at any point he could cast it, we just auto-lose, so we need to play versus aggro with Uro every turn, and we can't tap out or lack counter spells because we still die to Neoform. But that was clutch. So that's not a good hand, especially that we are going first, so it's mulligan. And this one is bet in a different way, but versus creature decks we have quite a lot of time. The mana isn't perfect though, so we are keeping and this one goes away. The good part is that we can use the Cry, so we have some sweeper, and it probably will be very handy versus elves. Though I don't think we need to pay life. Like, the more they will use into the board, the better for us. Most elves are like 1 or 2/2, and the buffing ones for 3 mana is still 2/2, so I think it's very possible we do it next turn. We could even wait longer, because we have spot removal, so everything that buffs too much, we can just kill with single removal. Is this enough? He will probably have a lot of elves next turn, so I think we clear it now. And what it means is that there's no sense to remove it one by one. I think that's good enough. 3 for 1. He has 2 lands, so it's very possible that should be enough to win. We could wait longer, but if he did like some spam, then it's 3/3, and then we cannot kill it. So we need to use Vraska, and like we are doing the same thing pretty much, just slower. So it's better to clear everything that you can. If you control another elf. But you do not control another elf, so we allow it. That's smart. So he will play another elf then. Okay. And that's a great draw. Yeah. So with this we can start trying to find the answers. I think what we lack is like second board clear, and then it should be game. So we pretty much wait till he uses all the elves and then board clear. Okay, so other elves get 2. This one doesn't really get any buffs. It's 4 mana, so he lacks the mana quite a lot. Okay, this is attack, so I actually think that we might kill it. No reason to get additional damage. And we will kill it anyway, probably at some point. And the faster we make graveyards full, the better for us. We need to be careful for 6 mana. So if he tries to use the castle, then we kill the shepherd. This is also a reason why okay, he did it like this. Okay. That's worse. I thought he will activate this one, and then in response we can do it. This way he actually got a 1 hit, so that's not perfect. Okay, and that's a good draw. I think we can do it main phase, like nothing really will change. And let's play the land. Paradise Druid. That's quite small, but let's go with the counter spell. We just need to play it a bit slowly, so he doesn't have too much damage every turn. And I think that's good enough. And we have 7 cards, so we can do both. Yeah, we transform. And do we want to kill something? I think killing something isn't the most important part. Because if he attacks, that's the same thing. And we even heal, so if we kill something, we get more damage, and like we just suffer more. So right now, if he attacks with everything, it's just 3 damage. And as you can see, he doesn't really want. But if we did it otherwise, so we killed something, then we are at 10, and he attacks with everything. So either we don't use Ascanta, or we don't cast the Rider as a creature. So I think that's way better. And we need cards, so let's go for this one. And I like what we have. We can make a token, so let's see. That's not good enough. So we are just waiting for Sweeper, and then it's a pretty much good game. What do we want first? I think it doesn't matter. So let's draw first those 2. And yeah, so we got Sweeper. So he will probably scoop right now. Let's attack, because it's always 2 extra life. So I think he doesn't have anything and he will just rope. So we have some time to talk. I actually gave this deck a Castle of Ardenweir because I was playing some control, which is super rare right now, and it's insanely hard to match the castle. Like, it's very small and slow way of killing someone, but every turn you just wait with counter spells, and the guy that has castle like forces another guy to do something finally. And when you need to cast the Wrath, you suddenly don't have many counter spells, and the enemy can like counter it because it's sorcery. So every single time you will cast it on your turn, and you do it like with like 3 or 4 tokens, then the enemy can counter it. Then let's say this situation, if you counter it, you have just 1 counter spell, and they always have Teferi with counter spell. So if you clear the board, yeah, you are alive, but on the other hand, the enemy has his main card in the game. So the guy that has it pretty much forces the other one to make a play and like stop playing carefully. So yeah, that's I think that's a very good addition. Right now I'm testing 2, and I think that's fine. Like, good enough. Okay, so we are going with classic, so just try to draw a card every turn. And right now we have the Teferi, the Master of Scoop.
Hide from the world. Hurry.
So the game is won, we just try to close it right now. He can have 2 elves, so it's 3-3. And still we can block if we really want. So it's just slow rolling the 1 game. That's an interesting one. I could think about it, but let's just counter it. So enemy wanted to make a 1 big play in the end, but when we just get control, it's like drawing cards, Ascanta, we could block with the tokens. Of course they had trample, so it's better to counterspell it. Okay, so the enemy is going first, but we have removal, draw, counterspell and board clear, so let's go with this. I generally like this hand. Like even on the go it would be quite good. But the additional card we get gives us much more like certainty that we draw into something. Because we need lands and also things to do with the lands, so the more the better. Okay, and it creates treasure token every time it attacks, and it buffs it. Okay, so if we want to kill it, we need to kill it now. Yeah, let's do it. If enemy has this, probably he has something that he ramps for. We got the main card that we wanted, so right now we have a bit of everything. I would prefer to draw cards, but I don't think the enemy... Oh, he let us. So that's perfect. Like, all we need to do right now is to survive few turns and we will have such a card advantage that we won't lose to anything. That's not worst. Like, it's just a 2-1. And we can clear the board. So right now we don't need to like play very quickly. We are on 18. So we just want to draw cards and that's it. I don't think enemy should have counter spells, even though he's playing blue. I think we can get away with this one. So 2 damage doesn't matter. Okay, and what matters? I think right now we will go a bit risky. I'm thinking between the land and the Hearthless Act. Negate will be useful at some point, I think. It's not really a creature deck. Like, he has creatures, but it's way too slow to be a creature deck. So Hearthless Act. But in 2 cards, yeah, in 2 cards we will draw something, I think. Worst case we'll use the inventory. Yeah. So, as you can see, right now we kinda have everything we want. And if we do it like this, he cannot he cannot kill Teferi before it passes. And this means for his turn, even if Teferi dies, we still have counterspell. And we can do it like this, that's fine. Because we have like 5 cards to be drawn, so we draw into a Teferi or something. But the most important thing is not to... yeah, let's go with this. So the most important is not to be without counterspell on their turn. Like here we have 6 turns before this kills us, so it won't. Especially we can start making tokens soon. Okay, that's interesting card. We would have to discard, so I think for now, like we would have 8 and 9. Yeah, so we discard 1, so let's just play lands for now. I feel like we have a lot of win conditions, so like Barons and Castle also. So let's just bait cards from him.
You know what?
If he doesn't have removal for Teferi, he will lose very fast, and we then have a huge tempo advantage. Okay, so it's not removed instantly, so that's good enough for us. And now we need to think about lands. We won't be able to use any of those, so let's go with the standard lands. And now the enemy needs to remove it. If he has expensive removal, we just counter it. If he has, like, let's say 2 mana removal, so Anger of Wrath, I think, or something like this, then we will think. And this is 3 mana. It still doesn't kill Teferi, but I think he doesn't have much more. So let's counter it just to shut it down. So he has 3 mana at most for this turn, and to be honest, he doesn't really have anything from what I see.
Keep up the pace.
So this should be game very, very soon. We can let him attack once. Like, I don't want to ult Teferi, and we have answers. This will make us go to 8 cards, but we have 1 round to discard, so that's fine. And I prefer some answers. Especially we don't use mana for it, and we have a lot of mana sinks. Do we need white? No, we don't need those. Yeah, so right now we are taking control over the game. It should be very soon when the enemy just scoops.
Stop that now.
I'm not sure what this deck is supposed to do. Like, this is some kind of pirates, but like, yeah. We have 1 counter spell, so we will go with the other one. Actually, let's try this one first. So we see what do we have. Yeah, and Quench is good enough here. We might even remove it, just so we don't have to do anything else. Yeah. So we had so many answers that the only problem was mana, and with Teferi it's like very helpful. We get 2 runs every single turn and a land drop every turn. So first, with this mana we can't absorb, but we should draw something, and we have removal in case we get through that, so this looks good. Quite good at least. Though we need to draw some mana. But if we draw black we can use those parts, and if we don't we can use absorb, so it should like make something playable. Best would be the water grave, so then we can play everything. But Godless Shrine will do. It's Grul, so let's not pay life even to bluff. It's not really worth it. Especially that they pretty much always play stuff. Though this turn I want to make sure nothing big comes, like probably Grul. Yeah. Next turn we are going for Rider, probably. So I will play it tapped. So like I expect Hydra right now. Yeah, it's always there. Oh, and I fucked up. It's not the right mana. Okay, so that's on me. 4 damage for like completely no reason. So that's not amazing. Enemy has haste on pretty much everything, so I think we just try to quench and like repair the damage that we did. Okay, so it's not Gruul. Let's see if he pumps. If he pumps, that's amazing for us. He didn't. Okay, so let's just kill it. Yeah, we got the oops guy. Yeah, and when he plays Bone Crusher, then we counter. Not sure if the oopses, but yeah, sure man. We have enemy that really likes to talk a lot. And right now it's fine, because he doesn't have anything in the board. Like 3 mana doesn't really accomplish anything. So let's go with this. I think we need to mute this guy. Like he's talking way too much for for him.
Don't make another move.
Still, we don't lose the Teferi. We will play the Rider, so it's going fine, I think. Even with the early game misplay that was very problematic. We do untap lands, so don't worry, we won't lack swamps again. The main point is that we want to bait something. Maybe he will buff the questing beast or something. Or maybe he wants to kill us with Embercleave, if he has it. Yeah, let's just let him have fun before we kill it. Great. So right now he's tapped out, so we just got additional turn. And it's going fine. With instant removal and Hemister's Insight, I think we are in pretty good shape. So this one, and later we will use discard on this. And I think we start attacking. In one way, Teferi is the most important guy in the matchup and on this board, but he doesn't have much cards, so it seems that like he doesn't have a lot of haste creatures, yeah. Okay, and that's fine. So how do we do it? We can kill one of them this turn. We could even use Pride of the Carnarium. I think he will equip the beast. So then, what do we like? I think we will use the Rider. Yeah, let's do it like this. Okay, so when he equips, we can kill it. We don't get to Hemister, but that's fine. He only has one card right now. We even got the negate.
Keep up the pace.
So with this draw, that's pretty fine. I think we will try to bait him. If he blocks, we just remove the counters. And that's good enough. Remove up to 3 counters. And we still get the life heal. Okay. So we have Raska for anything he draws, and we have drawing cards and the negate, so it should be closed game. I think it's this draw or the next one when he scoops. I'm tempted to say nice, but I won't be this kind of guy. But he really asks for it. So it seems he will be roping right now, because he's super mad that his 5 creatures played on the board didn't win him the game. Okay, so he roped and we won, and that's pretty much it. So, this one is strange. We are going second, we don't have much interaction. Rider is a bit fine. Worst case we can play it as a creature just to slow things down before we use the board clear. Search is also good, though we don't have double blue. But we can go with our hand fully, so I think we'll keep it, though it's a bit scary. And versus this deck, I think that's a bit better even, because they don't kill like crazy fast. Shade will be a problem though. I don't really have an answer for it. I think answer to Shade is drawing like 3 cards a turn. Yeah, we... like second blue is actually useful. But we want to draw something else. Next turn we need to paint something. So do we want to actually use the rider to kill anything? So he will probably attack with this one. And how much damage is it? Worst case 5, 8, 10. That's a lot. We have double Wrath, so I think what we are going to do is play him as a creature. This also will negate like the pain that we get from land. And this one forces him to pump the creature. Yeah, so he's prepared for board clear, but that's fine. We have a lot of life. With 1 Wrath I would play a bit differently, but with 2 I think we have some luxury. We have blue mana, so that's enough. And we don't even have to paint it. But like all we get is lands, even with filtering, so it would be great to stop drawing them, like, finally. Eldest Reborn is quite fine as well. This goes to the owner, and that's actually like perfect that he used Kicker for it. Because right now we can just, with like complete clear conscious, use the Eldest Reborn. Okay, so we are getting into something. This land is nice, but like I really don't want to have more lands right now. And if we go with the Teferi, like how much it can pump? It can pump twice, so probably we actually will just clear the board. We can do it like this, and then it's very possible we get the Obliterator from the graveyard, because then he can't attack really, and the more Wraths the better. So yeah, I think that's enough. That's good enough. We can also use Rider. Yeah, so I like after this blocker, I thought that we have everything to get control in game, because we have, like, let's go to the battlefield. So I'm not sure what he had in hand. Probably, or if he had removal, he can still kill Teferi. At least he can think that he might, because he doesn't know about the rider. So if he had other cards, I think he played a bit too slowly. Like he pumped the Knight of the Ebon Legion, he always plays Shade with Kicker. It's good value, but it's pretty much 5 mana, 1 creature, 5/3. If he, during the Eldest Reborn turn, he played 2 creatures, like this would be a very problematic turn for us. So I'm not sure if he didn't slow roll it a bit too much. And it's hard to outvalue us. And also, here you saw how powerful the Reborn is. And that's why we have 1 copy of it in the deck. Like, I know it's very slow, in some matchups it feels a bit bad. So if an enemy has full board, it doesn't really do much. But in games, when you can use it, it's usually a win condition. Because you kill 1 creature, so it's still like a bit counterplay to enemy turn. Then he loses a card, so that really doesn't help him. And then you get a creature or Teferi and on top of the current turn. And as you can see, in this situation, we could have Teferi, and then it's safeguarded by Obliterator, and still have some remover, so that's a bit unbeatable. And when Teferi stays, especially with Escanta, you just have cards that you need. So yeah, that was a straightforward game. Here we have a little bit of everything. The only problem is that we aren't going first, and we don't have absorb mana, but I think it should sort itself out. And Cry of Carnarium versus Lurus should be very nice. Yeah, so if we went first, this game would be insanely good for us. This way it will be a bit hard, because then now he starts to draw cards. So we will see how good his draw is. Yeah, right now Cry of the Carnarium doesn't kill everything, and nor does Wrath. So it's not perfect. But right now we are starting to have some counterspell, and he doesn't draw cards. So we need to think. I think we will Cry of the Carnarium, because he has 2 like indestructible effects right now. So we will go with Catacombs. If we Cry of the Carnarium now, then we can... Like, Lurus is a long way like from here. He needs 2 turns to play it, and then we can prepare. Or prepare here. But if we kill both right now, first, Ornithopter is a bit smaller. Second, I think if he doesn't have the next one, like this, then we can use Wrath of God next turn, though we lack mana, unfortunately. I think we still do it. Worst case, we can use Vraska. And it's just 1. Yeah. Like, this doesn't really do anything, but you can. Because even if it's put into graveyard before the Cry, it still goes into exile. Okay, so he has the next one. And he has Lurus right now. But he stepped out for this turn. So that's a tricky turn. If we had white, that would be perfect. But right now, he might get a land, so it's not 100 counterspell, 100%, unless we would go for Thought Size. But we still aren't sure about the white mana. And I don't want to pay all of this. If we remove the Ornithopter, then he plays it. We don't have much time, so let's do it like this. Okay, so he only has one. And let's keep the mana. Let's keep the mana for any spell that he will draw. And I hope he draws something. Because we need the absorb. This turn was intense. So right now, if we draw white mana, we automatically win. If we don't, that's worse. I think we need to do this. We have Quench, worst case. It won't do much, but like it's helpful. Though, like if we use Vraska, we still don't get a life. So our best bet is to hunt for white mana. If we get white mana, then we win the game. So yeah, that showed up to be a good call. The game was insanely close, but if we didn't play Azcanta last turn, we would draw Teferi. Yeah, this one isn't needed. We don't have planes, so we cannot make token. And now the question, we don't get life anyway. He will sacrifice it, but oh, he cannot. Because he doesn't have a target creature. So I think he cannot sacrifice it yet. Yeah, he doesn't get the trigger. And 3 life is a lot, especially when we have board clear. Though, come on, that's... You couldn't have better draw than this. But okay, we are still going with this. We need to make a token, so we have 2 mana to do something. And we can do at the end step. The good part is that castle pretty much counters what's happening. Unless he has something like this. Holy hell, his draws are amazing. Because now he doesn't have to pay life anymore. But that's fine. We are still going. We can actually do it now. In case we draw Absorb, then we survive additional turn. So we don't need to make a blocker. So right now we need to make a token every single turn. So that slows us down by a lot. And we cannot kill it. So yeah, now it depends what he draws. So far his draws were amazing, but finally he whiffed. Okay, and right now we can just do this and start drawing some cards. We won't miss a land drop, so in few turns we should be a bit ahead. And we'll be able to start using Azcanta. Okay, and that's the win condition for us. So this is one of the big reasons why the Cry is in this deck. As you can see, it's... No, it doesn't work like this. So I think he doesn't know how it interacts. So we will use Azcanta this turn, probably. So we don't really need Crowing Barons. And with this we can both use Quench. I don't think there's a card that costs so much mana that we would want. Okay, and now we can start drawing cards from this one. This one is great, but we would go for Teferi. So Gideon's Intervention is second way to like suppress Adanto. It's not worse, it's just a bit more expensive. And if deck has any way to remove the enchantment, you still get hit later. But it's a safe bet, so this would also work, and this would also work, because we can just use the -3 and Ascanto will be for 2 turns out of the game, and that's enough. Okay, and finally we are going first, so let's go, and on the draw this hand would be very bad. On the go it's amazing. And we will go with this in case we draw, let's say, Hearthless Act, so we have both black mana and white blue, and we don't need to pay life for it. So, what is the 2 mana play? Like Viashino. The problem is that he has Burden. But I think it's important, because then we also are more probable to draw lands, and we need for to board clear. And as we can see, yeah, I need this one. And as we can see, he didn't do anything, so it's very possible it's not Bone Crusher. So let's see what he will do. That's a card. Okay. That's first time I see it played in the game. But that's great. And Castle will be huge here. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, so it will cost me 5 mana a turn, and for him it will be 3 mana a turn. Though I'm wondering what this deck does. Okay, now we know. And let's go with the crunch, so we can use it later. We don't need life right now. And we don't need more lands, I think, as well. So right now we can start making tokens. I won't do it for blocking this turn, but possibly next turn. Haste, equipped. Okay. It doesn't have like first strike, so that's fine. Okay, and this one obviously is a bit too strong. We need to counter it. Okay, so this seems to be some kind of aggro, but with this guy. That's interesting. I'm not sure what to think about it, but for sure it's interesting. And we will play Teferi right now. The faster the better. Especially that in case he has some kind of Ember Cliff, we can use the Murderous Rider. But we still get mana for Absorb, so he doesn't really know what we have. And probably next... Wow! What is it? This guy goes all in on the cards. That's a very nice skin. Okay, so this is Mutate. Whenever... Oh, that's the one. So obviously we'll just kill it. But I like the idea.
I'm getting too old for this.
And that's fine because we can clear the board. So right now, and this might be a crucial card, but not sure if the squeeze is the target. I honestly aren't sure about this one. Let's just clear the board and think about it later. And we can go... We don't have anything black, so let's just go with this kind of mana. Soon we will have Ascanta. Yeah, so this one is fine. I think we will use it for this guy, because we can't really deal with it. Yeah, and that's fine. We can transform. And we can do something else.
Hold that thought.
I think Eldest Reborn would be good enough. And even though we can use Ascanta, I think this way we can prevent everything he's doing with instant removal that we have right now. And we can steal a Skanta if he doesn't do anything, but he should. Okay, so what mana we have? Blue, and let's go for black. So right now we can use a Skanta, or we can Quench and Heartless Act. It doesn't have haste, so it's not very huge impact. Like, it's 3 mana to do nothing for the 1 turn. He could have something, but I think we can just tap out. Okay, Negate is quite fine. What does he have? What do we want? This one doesn't really make much sense. This one also, so it's just 4/4 with flying for us. I could just bounce it for now. I think that's enough. I don't want to tap out, I want to draw cards every single time.
Let's take it back.
So let's just do it like this. Because it also drains his cards and his tempo, so he doesn't really do anything, and we have everything. So that's a good deal right there. No, this doesn't do anything. We don't need to clear the board, but let's take one just in case. Because sooner or later he will use some creatures. Okay, and now we can think about the creature that will try to kill him. I think this one, because it doesn't have haste, so it looks fine. And it has flying and 4/4, so that's best that we can get.
We need to move quickly.
Quench isn't crucial here, so I think we'll just discard it. I won't land. So right now we are, I think, waiting for the enemy to scoop. Okay, and what is it? Whenever an opponent activates an ability of anything that isn't mana ability, okay, so it deals 1 damage. But it doesn't go with the Planewalkers. And for mana he gets 3/3 and Menace, so that's not really much. I think we'll wait for him to buff it, and then we kill it. Like, I have a lot of life, so I don't really mind it. I want to slow him down, so I prefer to get some damage, but at the same time it slows him down. I'm pretty sure next time he will use all the mana on this. I think we'll start making creatures.
Hurry.
Well, we don't really need to. Let's just wait 5 turns, and I think that's it. That's a lot of cards that we have to discard. Actually, for this reason, I think we'll just kill it. Like, I didn't want to, but I prefer to have a free removal and not discard anything. We go with Wrath. Yeah, great. Because he's seen the Wrath, so we can just get rid of it. And right now we are on the board and not him, so yeah, that's fine. It really doesn't do anything at the moment, because our tokens counter it. We don't need more cards, we have answer for everything, so let's just make the small guys. I don't think we'll go to 8, but better to like use everything. Given we again have all the cards, let's just kill it. We still untap and we can attack with tokens, so it will be a bit faster. Honestly, the game is completely over, but like the enemy has a like small shot just to, you know, put the creatures, but we just have too many answers for everything. I could double token, but I just don't need to tap with anything. And this one is enough damage to kill him. So he can play the squid. I think we'll just keep killing it every turn until he dies. We can even, if he plays it, we'll use the Teferi -3, I think. It slows his draw, and then he wasted mana and it's not really doing anything. Okay, so I think we are on the point of getting enemy to rope again. So yeah, that's how you lose with style. The deck was interesting, but like I don't really like it. Like it was doing everything and nothing pretty much. I'm not even sure if he had Embercleave. This one is insanely slow, like 5 mana activation to deal 4 damage. And most enemies don't use the lands that do something. It doesn't affect Planewalkers, so this one is dead card. It's 1/3 for 2 mana, mostly. This one is fine. Phoenix is of course slow, but generally it was always a good card. Squee is an interesting choice, but as you can see, like when you play against the control, does it really matter? It's problematic, but it slows you down so much when you are the aggressive deck that 2 damage a turn is okay, I guess. Like, it's interesting card, but it just doesn't have raw power that you need. So instead of killing enemy by turn 4, you play a 2/1 that dies to Castle Ardenvale. And you cannot outvalue the control deck with just a 2/1 creature. That's overcosted, so it's not good enough. Anax was amazing if we didn't have any kind of counter spell for him and the enemy had full board, then it could be a problem, but it's just then it's just a weaker mono red, because that's the same case with every mono red deck. Yeah, so we won, the roping is over, and we can go for the next one.
With